Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're playing Atomic Chess, where capturing explodes a 3x3 radius of pieces, except for pawns. My goal is to win one game. Let's get started with game number 1. Alright, game number 1, we do get the white pieces. And once upon a time, I actually knew theory for this a couple of months back. We're paired with a 1700 rated opponent. I think knight to f3 was the correct first move. Also, what on earth is going on with their connection? Okay, because the threat obviously is knight to e5, takes on e7, or rather f7, and takes out the king. What is this? What kind of connection is this? Holy cow, oh my goodness. We're meant to get a snowstorm soon. I think they've already been hit. And I think the follow-up here is knight d4. Looking for knight f5. Again, if I take on e7, takes out the king in the process. And of course, they cover up that square as well. Now, I wonder if I can just play e4 here. My kind of sneaky idea is now I'm threatening knight to f5 again. Should they take, I have queen to h5, and I don't know how you stop my queen from getting that king. Okay, it's literally gone beyond the crop of the screen, but I promise you this says this like 40 times right now. It just keeps coming and going. Anyways, knight to f5, I think is the appropriate move here. Actually, I guess I'm not threatening this anymore because of pawn to e5. Of course, I still don't think they can take because that opens up a world of possibilities. And they do play bishop to h6. Should I take, that would actually just be a fair trade. It would take out the bishop, but it would also take out my knight. Wouldn't take out any of the pawns. Pawns are unaffected, so it would actually be totally fair. Wow, that's actually crazy. You guys can actually see it scrolling now because it keeps going. There's a funny joke in there somewhere, but I'm not creative enough to think of it. Anyways, bishop to h6 also threatens this victory immediately, which is not ideal. If I move the pawn out of the way, they take out my queen, take out my knight. Also not ideal, so I guess I should take. I don't love that that gives them the initiative, though. Nothing much that I can do about that, though. All right, we do get pawn to d5. If I take, it takes out my pawn and theirs. They take on d2, I immediately lose. So I guess we'll toss in a little spite check. They can just play c6 and be totally fine, but, it's worth a shot. They do, in fact, play c6. Let's go queen e2. Obviously, I'm looking to sacrifice a little bit of material here with the idea of coming with the queen to b5. If I can just wiggle the queen into where the king is, then I should have winning chances. Queen to a5. Should I castle? I guess they could take on d2 and win material. So maybe just b4. Of course, the queen can never take. I guess technically she could. But should she take, she would just take out a pawn and a bishop for an entire queen. So probably not what they're going to play. Very strange how you can defend yourself in this variant with completely free pieces. At least for me, I have to always keep it very much in mind that there's no such thing as a free quote-unquote capture in this game. Everything comes at some sort of cost. So for example, should I take this queen? It would also take out my own bishop, not to mention they would take and wipe out my king. So I think it's in my best interest to actually just move my queen. If I block, they take, queen goes out anyways. Now the question is where to? I guess if I play e3, they can take, and that also wipes out my queen. Oh wait, is there nowhere safe for my queen? Yep, I don't think there is. Wow, that kind of sucks. Okay, if I play queen d3, queen e3, they just take and my queen is gone. Is there anything I can do here? Any threat I can create at all? Or am I just dead in the water already? Wow, that's actually insane. Okay, I guess I'm gonna take on g4. Not the best trade I've ever made, ever. Queen does go back to d8. Oh, it's gonna be a matter of who can get to whose king first. I have a funny feeling it's not gonna be me. I do have 20 seconds as well, which is also not that promising. Let's castle. As soon as this queen gets to the king side, I'm toast. So I have to be pretty quick about this. Let's go d4. Again, queen still can't take, would take out the queen as well. However, queen d5 is a threat. I don't know how I stop that. Okay, they just take the bishop. Now what do I do? c4. I need to stop queen d5 because that's a criminal threat on my entire position. I have 8 seconds to move all of these pieces from the back rank to their king. What are my odds here? I think pretty stinky. I think my odds stink here, but we'll see. Maybe they'll just disconnect completely. That's definitely a sound way to play chess. Hope your opponent disconnects. Okay, queen to c7. I guess I'm kind of inviting them to take. Let's go. Oh, they're threatening queen to h2, and if they play here, I don't know if I can stop that. Maybe just rook to e4. What an ugly move. Oh, they play rook to e8 first. I guess I have to take. Otherwise, I can't centralize my rook without them taking, and then they take out both of my rooks at the same time. Queen to e7? I'm gonna play here, but queen to e1 is probably devastating. Strange little fork, but forces me to give up my last actually functional piece. Now they threaten queen takes f2. Yeah, there's just nothing I can do here. I guess I can shuffle one, square out of the way, but they have queen f3, queen g2. And there actually is checkmate here because there's no way for me to get out of this. Yeah. So we do, in fact, get mated, lose game number 1. I'm not mad about that, though. Let's go to move on to game number 2. All right. Game number 2 with the same opponent. Let's do the exact same thing in it and see if it turns out any different. Okay, obviously this is a little trappy move. Should I take? They threaten to take on d2. What if I play knight h3? That's a funky little idea too. Oh, maybe queen to e2. So that way if they take, I have queen takes e7, countering their, queen takes d2 idea. Bishop g4, that's already quite pesky. Maybe queen b5 with check? I don't know if bishop e2 is critical though. I think it is, but I'm threatening them first. So I should be fine. Yeah, if they do get bishop to e2, I literally think there's no way for me to get out of that situation. This is not a threat. Again, if they take my queen, that's just a fair trade. Okay, they're doing this again, which is crazy work. So what about f3? I do think I have to get that off my back. Again, bishop e2 is losing. It's really interesting too, because it totally wipes out the idea of like tempo when it comes to trades. Okay, they're threatening this again. So I guess I'll bite. I'll take, sure. It's not a problem. I'm threatening to take this bishop for free. However, I don't think that's actually the most important thing happening in this position. I think whoever starts attacking the opponent's king first is going to be better off. So I'll try to do that right away. Bishop does go back to e6. Again, should I take? It's just a fair trade. So I might as well just let them take and also be a fair trade. The only question is it too limiting of my own moves? Again, if I play knight c3, they can take. Wipes out the knight as well. However, I think the answer is no. I don't think I'm even remotely concerned about that. In fact, I'll bring in another piece. Obviously, they can't take because if bishop takes f7, hits the king. If they do trade, that's totally fine. I have knight g5, which just looks like a good time. They do play h6. I can play knight to f4, but it doesn't create any new threats, so I might just castle, bring the rook in as well. Again, I'm going to harp on that idea that I mentioned like 3 or 4 moves back, that whoever gets an attack going on the enemy king first is probably just going to have a very comfortable advantage in this game. So I'm going to do my best to activate my pieces before my opponent can get themselves, too comfy. That king does look pretty stuck in the center. They could do something like knight d7 long castles, but then it's opposite side castling, which also will probably lead to a very dynamic, fun game. Not to mention, knight d7 kind of walks into bishop takes, which is not a fair trade because I take out the knight with me. So 1 piece for 2 looks pretty darn good for me. Not to mention, we are up on time, so I do think I've stumped my opponent. There are also interesting ideas of like rook to e1. Again, just taking advantage of the fact that we're ahead in development to activate our pieces. I threaten to take. My bishop goes, their bishop goes, and suddenly this is a new threat. Rook takes e7, which takes out the king. So yeah, I think that king in the center is going to be quite the headache for them. Almost as much of a headache as their internet is probably also for them. They are down to almost a minute. I think I've stumped them pretty well here. Oh wow, they literally just forfeited. Okay, cool. Don't mind if I do. With that, we actually do win our 1 game for the video. But let's go ahead and move on to game number 3. All right, game number 3. I do get the white pieces. Again. Don't mind if I do. How did I get the white pieces 3 times in a row? You tell me. Maybe it'll help me cross 1700. The opponent having a deep think. I think this opponent maybe has only played 1 game. Although they'd still have a question mark, so maybe they are a true 1480. Oh, no way, I want checkmate. They did not move in time. Oh, that's funny. Hi. That's pretty funny. All right, let's queue up for game number 4. I guess game number 3. All right. We get paired against Deli, who is active in the chat sometimes when I'm playing. So shout out and good luck. Again, white pieces now for, what, 4th time in a row? Don't ask me. I don't think the mods are doing anything in my favor, but somehow I have the white pieces many times in a row now. We get pawn to f6. I will persist. I will persist in being as pesky to my opponent as possible. It's interesting too, because this is one of those variants where I think white starts off, according to the Fairy engine anyways, which analyzes these variant positions, I think white starts off with like a 3-point something advantage, so almost like being up in an entire piece in a normal game of chess. I'm supposed to be 1600, but I haven't played in a very long time, so well, best of luck. All right, pawn to c5. Is this theory? Can I play knight b5, go to c7, and then force them to give up like half their army? I'll need some, thanks. They might just walk the king out, which would be kind of funny. Okay, but what about knight f5? I guess e6. Knight to e7 isn't really a threat. I think knight b5 is more convincing, right? Or does that just welcome like queen to a5? Threatens d2, I have knight c3 though. The arrow's as bad as ever. I don't know. I think knight to f5 is technically the right move, but knight b5 I immediately see all the benefits. Okay, I do have to block that. If they do want to give up the queen for the knight, that's probably sound. But otherwise I'm hopping into c7 and hoping to cause some damage. Okay, knight to a6. Oh, but if I hop into c7 now, they just take with the knight. And it is 2 pieces for 1, which, you know, should be advantageous for me, but I don't think is actually the most that I could have gotten out of that position. Okay, let's go b4, purely to give my opponent problems. Obviously, if they take it, wipes out all of these pieces. I'm quite happy with that. Allows me to develop my bishop, wipes out the queen. I think that looks pretty good for me. I really want to explode my queen. They do, in fact, take the leap. For some reason, they take it with the knight. I think they could have gotten away with grabbing the pawn and keeping the knight, but they do take with the knight, which does unfortunately sack the queen, just for pleasure. Okay, I actually don't have the same idea that I mentioned before because of that pawn on c5, but I think I can just play anything to get my bishops out, get my queen into the game, and just because I have a material advantage, should be able to control more squares, should be able to more effectively attack the king, should be able to win. It's like 4 shoulds in a row. Not the most convincing explanation ever, but I'm hoping to prove my case here shortly. At least I don't have to defend it now. That is some great optimism. Way to see the bright side. Okay, targeting the king, who probably just has to shuffle out of the way, and then I drop the bishop on d7. I guess he could move to f7, but again, I kind of just follow the king. There is no such thing as a free piece. Everything is a mortal threat on the king. Yeah, but I think it's just GG. Yeah, well, it was a fun game. King f7, queen h5. Oh yeah, I didn't even see that. Don't help your opponents. Yeah, I didn't even see queen to h5, but I think that's critically winning already. Yeah, king d8, bishop d7, I did see that. Yeah, GG's. Yeah, bishop d7, and no matter where the king moves, which, well, I guess there's only one option, I grab the bishop and take out the king. Say GG's in chat. GG. We'll grab that bishop and win 2 out of our 3 games. Might as well toss in a 4th game. I guess this was game number 4? Let's just play another game. All right. We are paired with Brian again. Brian, move! Don't get swept away by the fact that you're playing against me. Okay, pawn to e6. Let's go. We have got a game on our hands. We'll say good luck in chat. Now that we have safely started the game, let's go with bishop c5, target f2. They do block with pawn to e3. Can I play this, or is knight g5 just immediately crushing? If I do it the other way, knight g5 is also kind of just immediately crushing because I give up the queen and the knight. Okay, let's go queen to f6. Stops knight to g5, not by protecting the square, but by counter-threatening the pawn on f2. Move the bishop out of the way, sure. Here comes the bishop. Surely to cause me a headache. Okay, I'll defend with the knight. If they take, again, it's just a fair trade. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of hoping they're trying to castle here, because they've developed very normally. They do play knight to e5, so I can take on f2, and that is GG's. Okay, I'm gonna set, for this very last game, I'm gonna say GG's in chat. For this very last game, I'm going to set a rating restriction that's a little bit more strict. We'll go -50, and see if I can get paired up with somebody that will give me a headache. There they are, the one meant to give me a headache. We do get a 1660 rated opponent, so they've definitely been around. I think 1660 when I started this video. So we'll start with knight to f3. I've somehow managed to eke by without any theory. Okay, pawn to e5 is super interesting, because it actually does allow knight to g5, threatening knight takes f7, but they can sack the queen, and get that headache off their backs right away. I would like their queen, however, so I will take them up on the offer. And again, because there's no tempo to think about, everything that is a capture is just an immediate sort of cause and effect. Anything involved is immediately sort of taken out of the equation. I'm more than happy to allow that. Pawn to f6. What? No, you were supposed to give me a free queen. This was not part of my plan. Okay, pawn to f6. I could just play knight to f7. Still threatens to take the queen. I'd imagine queen to e7 follows. Knight to d6, if they take it, still takes out the queen. I think I'm happy with that. I don't know if I'm walking into prep of some kind. Once you start talking about people that have set ratings, especially set ratings that are 160 points over the starting rating, there is a chance that you're walking into prep of some kind. Okay, but this looks good, right? Check. I guess that maybe they just move out of the way. No, they can't because I take, right? So they sack the queen. So we kind of got to the same conclusion that queen g5 would have taken us to, I think. Let's go e4. Want to get these two pieces out that can immediately target the king on the same colored squares. We get knight to c6. Let's develop. And the cool thing is I think I can just castle out of the way if, anything a little too funky starts happening on the queen side. Right? Because there's no queen that can, pursue me. There is a knight, however, that can pursue me. Fair enough. We'll go h3 and stop that. Again, the queen doesn't actually defend that square. It would lose the queen. Okay, knight d4 threatens this. How big of a problem is that? Let's do some risk assessment here. Kind of a big problem, right? I should want to move my queen out, but then there's just g6. Maybe I'm not doing quite as good as I thought. Yeah, because all of these squares are defended. Wow, it kind of sucks. Okay, if I have to lose my queen, I'd rather lose her to a central pawn and a central knight. I think that is pretty self-explanatory. Opens up the center for me, gets rid of their most active, well-placed pieces. This is all me coping with the fact that I've been bamboozled out of my queen. And again, there is a very real chance. I don't know anything about really theory in this variant. I used to once upon a time, but I've mostly forgotten it by now. But there is a non-zero chance that somehow we're still in their preparation. Okay, we're going to take on e5. I've now waved goodbye to my queen as well. We've both lost our queens, but I've managed to get rid of some of these central pieces. I really don't want to take. I would lose the bishop. I guess I could put them in check, but then just c6. What a pesky position. Okay, I'll move back. If they do take, totally just a fair trade. They lose a pawn, I lose a pawn as well, but I can castle immediately and they cannot, which means after I castle, it'll be much easier to target their king. Not to mention, my bishop just looks at that square. So this should already be advantageous. Bishop c5 doesn't do anything because of pawn d4. Not a free pawn if they take, takes out the bishop as well. So again, I think this is going to be similar to game number 3, game number 2, I don't quite remember now, where the opponent's king is stuck in the middle and my pieces are just a little more active. Right, so we'll hit them with d4. You'd imagine they'll just move the bishop out of the way, potentially trying to hold on to e1 so I can't play there myself, which would actually make a lot of sense because I really can't play c3. I mean, I could, but they can just take and that takes out my bishop too. So not only is it a fair trade, but they actually pick up a pawn on the way as well. Okay, we get something completely different though. Bishop to e6. I kind of want to take. Yeah, I think they got tunnel vision with the fact that I'm threatening all of these attacks, which is fair. What if I just play rook e1? I guess that doesn't threaten anything new. No, I'm just going to grab my free material. If they take, it's just a fair trade. Takes out their bishop as well as mine. So I guess I'm happy with my free piece. Sure, we'll take the knight. And then what, just knight c3? Or I guess knight d2, right? Because if knight c3, they can take 2 pieces for 1, kind of undoes all of my progress. Knight d2, however... Oh, I was going to say, never mind. I guess we can play knight c3 now. I was going to say knight d2 isn't free because they would lose the rook should they take. We'll hit them with a sneaky little rook to e1. If they don't take, then I just take the rook and I get 2 rooks for the price of 1, which is quite a nice deal. We'll see if they notice it with 35 seconds. That is quite a bit of time pressure. Okay, they're luring me into taking with the knight so that we're even on material, but of course, I'm just going to take with my own rook. There's no way for them to place... Oh! Oh, never mind. Okay, wait. If rook d2, I would have played knight to e2. Never mind. I thought I had just swindled my way out of a forced mating threat where they could have just taken any of these pawns and immediately won the game. But okay, no. I did have knight to e2, so I don't have to feel that bad about it. Okay, I can't really take that though. And I can't really play knight to e2 either because then it's a fair trade. Oh, have I swindled myself? Oh, after I unswindled myself, I've now gone and swindled myself. Wow, that's nice. Maybe just king h1? Just shuffle out of the way? They don't really have rook d3 because then I can take with the pawn. Obviously loses the knight, but the rook is on the board. Okay, cool. I think just with the time pressure alone, we're actually doing quite well here. Let's go knight to e2. Obviously they can't take anything. There's no such thing as, at least in my head, there's really no such thing as rooks on the second or anything because you're not going to take any pawns. You're just going to lose your rook in the process. Let's hit him with a little funky check. Just because I can. And obviously they can't take my knight. That would be quite funny if they were to come and take my knight with their king. I'm not even sure it would be legal for them. All right, 10 seconds on the clock. I do have an extra knight. Can't actually go pawn hunting or anything because then I would lose the knight, which is curious. Let's play with our pawns a little bit. Maybe if I can stiffen up the pawn structure, I can bring my own king over and sort of push them into a corner. Okay, they just push. I have no interest in trading pawns. I kind of just want to keep the position as is, and then bounce around with my knight. Oh, maybe I should leave space for my king though, right? I want my king to come over. I dare them to take. I want my king to come over so it can work with the knight to coerce the king into a corner. Actually, wait, can kings capture each other? Because this is a king capture variant. Oh, am I getting... No! No! I've lost! No! I didn't even think about that! Oh, no! I did play against this opponent specifically so they would give me a headache. Ah, there's my headache. Oh, I hate to end on a loss, but that's really all the time I have for today. Oh my god, I have to say GG's. For all I know, they've left, but... I'll be honest, they deserve it. Wow, very well played. No, and they had 4 seconds. There was like no need for that whatsoever. Oh my gosh. Anyways, if you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.